Fellow Canadians, bonjour. My name is Mike Heroux. I'm the founder of Dividend Stocks Rocks and I'm a passionate investor. Today, we're going to talk about how to reach freedom. So travel the world, build a business, and do exactly what you like. As you can tell by my French accent, je suis Québécois. So after this presentation, you will have the possibility to watch the same presentation in French. Et je vais également répondre à toutes vos questions en anglais et en français à la toute fin. So now let's go deep inside this topic right away. So why are you here today? We're going to talk about how to reach freedom. I have two stories to share with you, but they have the same narrative. Actually, I traveled 1 year with my wife and 3 kids at the age of 34. So we traveled around the world. And then I found a way to quit my job, build my business, and actually just get more time to myself. I just turned 40 and I just feel that my life is just going to be better moving forward. So you're here to learn the steps to how to quit your job, even if you have a mortgage, even if you have a family, even if you can't. Because you probably tell yourself right now, oh wow, I wish I could travel the world. I wish I could build my business, quit my job, say ciao bye to my boss, but I can't. I have like all those good reasons that I can't, and we're going to look at them. I'm also here to help you avoid pitfalls. Obviously, there are dangerous roads, not only during the road trip, but also if you want to create your business. But most importantly, it's important to take action. At the end of the presentation, I'll stick around for 10-15 minutes to answer your questions. It will be French and English at that time, so be free to ask anything you want. I'm completely transparent. Now, let's get started with this thought. You are going to die. Pretty good, right? Here's what I realized when I decided to quit my job and travel. Life is short. And we all have an expiry date and we just don't know when the timer is up. If you wait, maybe you're going to wait and you're going to be safe and you're going to be able to do whatever you want in your 60s or in your 70s, but maybe you won't make it. And most importantly, you're going to wake up one day at 65 or something like that, and then you're going to realize, damn, I wanted to do something with my life and now it's too late. I'm too old, or the opportunity has passed, or whatever. But the point here is you're going to die. So what you're going to do with this incredible gift that you've been given, which is called life, we decided to travel, and then in 2014, and we only left Quebec in 2016. It took us almost 2 complete years to prepare this trip. And the more we were going forward, the more I was stressed. And I wasn't stressed about going to Guatemala or having to learn Spanish. I was stressed about the fact that I wanted to make sure that nobody got sick before we leave, that we are all ready to leave and nothing bad would happen to us. So I felt this urgency to leave. And even though I was 34 back then, I kind of like freaked thinking that I may die tomorrow morning and then not being able to live my dream. Everything went fine. I'm back. It's good, but you never know when it's going to happen. So keep that in mind for today. Now, a very important point here is freedom is different for everybody. We have heard a lot about the FIRE movement. So people that are looking for financial independence, retire early. I will separate that into 2 sections. So financial independence, meaning that you have enough money that you don't need to work for someone anymore. It could be because you have lots of rental income. You have a big company paying for all your expenses, or the classic way is you've made so many sacrifices when you were in your 20s and your 30s that you save a lot, and then you have a big investment portfolio generating enough income so you don't have to work anymore and you can just live from passive income. That leads to early retirement. That's the dream. You know, when I'm thinking about my parents, when they were my age, the dream was Freedom 55, right? And most people end up with Freedom 65 or 70 because now 70 is the new 60 or something like that. But most importantly, today, People are looking to retire in late 30s, in their 40s, and sometimes in early 50s, but they are actually able to do it through a lot of sacrifices. Personally, I will never retire. Retire in a sense that I will stop working. I don't see the purpose. My goal is not to sit on a rocking chair and look at the scenery in front of me. I'm too active for that, and I want to work. However, what is important for me is to be able to do what I want when I want. This is why I say that time is the only currency, is the only thing that is important, and I consider myself rich of time. So I'm not financially independent. I don't want to like sell you the dream that I can like basically have like $10 million in my bank account. That's not true. But I was able to quit my job to live from my passion and then have this freedom of time. I can coach my sons at soccer. I can watch my daughter traveling because she's in a hip hop crew. I can take plenty of time with my wife, and that's what freedom means to me. Being able to do what I want when I want. So just take a pause here, take a moment to define what freedom means to you. And then we're going to look at how you can reach it, because it's completely different from one people to another. You know, my sister-in-law told me, yeah, it's amazing that you go for a trip of 1 year, travel all over the world, but I'm very happy in Quebec. I don't need to go outside to enjoy my life. And that's totally perfect. Her dream is to live on a farm, having a few horses, and just like taking care of that piece of land and her horses. And that's her freedom. That's her dream. And that's perfectly fine. So take a moment to just define what is important for you. And then we're going to be able to explain it, how you can reach it step by step. So in 2016, that was the day that we decided to leave Quebec and to travel across North America and Central America. As I mentioned earlier, I'm married to my beautiful wife. Her name is Jose. My 3 kids back then were 4, 9, and 11. So Caleb, Amy, and William. And during that trip, we did all kind of crazy stuff. We learned to surf in El Salvador. We visited ruins and temples and pyramids all across the world. We rode tuk-tuk in Guatemala. We even did volcano boarding. So the last picture that you can see where we were taking my wife and I is we hiked a volcano in Nicaragua, and then we had a sleigh and we just went downhill with that on the volcano. That was just an amazing experience. And every day of my trip, the 365 days, I was going to bed and I was telling myself, wow, today was amazing. And the next morning, I would go on the road and or go at the beach or stay in Belize for 1 week in an isolated island, or travel to Yellowstone and National Park, do some hiking. And then I would go back to sleep again and I would say, whoa, today was even better than yesterday. And then it kept going like this for the entire year. We sat in Costa Rica for 3 months. We rented a villa there, so we had friends and family coming over for Christmas time. That was just crazy to share this adventure with us. And then you keep hearing me talking about how amazing it was, but when we got that idea in 2014, the point was we can't leave. We have kids, we have to do homeschooling. I didn't have money saved. I mean, I have a pension plan and I have RSPs, but I didn't have like any accessible cash. I have mortgage, debts, car loans, whatever, as usual. I don't speak Spanish. 7 months in Central America and you don't know the language could be a problem. I would likely lose my job. I used to be a private banker working for National Bank 1859. And then obviously in the financial services industry, when you tell your boss that you're going to leave for a year, it's likely not going to be accepted. I was fortunate enough, my boss agreed to give me a sabbatical year instead of just tell me to get lost. But still, it was a problem. I was entering dangerous countries. Countries like El Salvador or Honduras, they are, even Guatemala, they're part of like the top 10 capital per murder per capita in the world. So they're like one of the deadliest countries in the world. So I was like, yeah, I'm bringing my family there. A lot of people were telling me, yeah, you're going to Mexico. Aren't you like afraid that you're going to get kidnapped or something? So that was part of it. I didn't know anything about RVing or even mechanics, so never like went driving an RV, how it works. You know, there's like all kind of stuff that you have to manage, your power, your natural gas, water, solar panel, and I don't even know how to open the hood of my car. And now I have to go on the road and be able to change tires and so on. So all of those reasons that I really couldn't leave. That was almost impossible. And I'm pretty sure that if you think right now about your life, you pretty have a similar list of things that a very, very good reason that you're not able to put your life on pause and leave for 1 year to do whatever you want. When I wanted to quit my job, it was exactly the same thing. I was on my way back to from my trip. Obviously, I spent every single penny that I had during the trip, so I had no savings. I still had my mortgage and debt. I didn't know much about running a business. I mean, I was working in the financial industry, but it's one thing to look at numbers. It's another to manage people, employees, getting clients, and so on. I had a fear that I will never get a job back. And my job was super safe. I was good at being a private banker. I had like nice bonuses, job stability. It was fun. It was well paid. I had a pension plan. And I was joking, like, you know what? Unless I murder someone in a branch, it's impossible to lose my job. So, you know what? I was like tracked for life. That was all good. And those are all very good reasons for not quitting your job. And then again, one thing that keeps coming back, and I had this supper with a friend couple of mine, and my friend asked me, it's like, Mike, but your job is not secured. You're not safe. You don't know if you're gonna make enough money with your business. And that brings me to the Mirage of Job Security. Thing is, you're likely very replaceable, and I saw that when I came back from my trip. I called my boss a few months ahead because they were super cool with me, and I just told them, it's like, you know what, I decided to follow another path. I'm not gonna come back, so now you can hire someone else, and life is going on. So they were disappointed, but they kind of like saw it coming a little bit. But they hired someone else, and now my former clients are being taken care of by some other private banker that is doing a very good job, and I'm just not out of the picture yet. And then the thing is, if things goes wrong, you're likely to be the less person to know about it. Whenever I have a bad week with my business, I know it right away because I follow my numbers. So I'm in full control of what's happening. It's completely the opposite if you're an employee. If you're an employee, you go to work, you do your job, everything is fun, is fine. You speak with your colleagues, you go back home, you watch Netflix, you sleep well. And then one day you come in the office and then your boss is just like, I'm very sorry, Mike, but I have to let you go. There's a recession, we lost the contract, yada, yada. End of the story. You cannot work for us anymore. I'm sorry, I have to let you go. This is one thing that cannot happen if I have a business, because I'll be able to take action. You know, in March of 2020, the market crashed big time due to the pandemic, and I was already in my business for like 3 years and a half. I was doing fine, but then I was realizing, like, yeah, there's a shift here. There's some panic, yes, but maybe people, because they're losing so much money, they're going to lose interest in investing. And then I'm pretty kind of like cornered here, because my website is all about helping people invest with conviction so they can enjoy their retirement and they have a great portfolio. So if I cannot do that because people don't want to manage their portfolio anymore and they want to go back to an advisor, I'm going to pretty much lose my business. And I don't want that, right? But I was able to take consideration of this, assess the threat, and then take a full plan of action and then actually act on it. So, you know, I see my business, my source of income as my children. You know, would you let someone else raise your children? I would not trust someone else to raise my children. I love them too much. I want to spend time with them. It's exactly the same thing with job security. Your job security is just a mirage. People are telling you that your job is secured, but in many, many cases, tomorrow morning you could lose it, and there's not much you can do about it. When you have a business, it's completely the opposite. And I know there are like downsides, and we're going to talk about them later today. Don't worry. But the thing is, that was freedom for me. I wanted to be free of a job. I wanted to be free of the point that whenever we start a new year, my counter of like all the millions and all the business that I brought in was back to zero, and then it was to start all over again. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that because we changed year, all of a sudden what happened in the past 12 months doesn't matter anymore, and I still have to work again to rebuild some numbers. So how about I can tell you that no matter what your situation is, you can actually decide to travel the world, take a sabbatical year, or launch your business without any stress, and you can do it without any problem. We have been told to follow a certain path since the beginning, since like our childhood. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, save money, and then retire. The thing is, today, we want so many things, and we work so hard that one day you just work, and then you wake up, and then you work, and then you wake up, and then you work, and then you wake up. And then you realize at the age of 65 that you always wanted to do this or to have that. And now it's almost too late. And then you're looking back and you're just like, that's not happening anymore. And one thing that I would like to tell you is you are not quitting your job. You're actually going forward to something. It's not about quitting. It's about going forward. It's about reaching freedom. It's about doing your passion. And this is what really life is about. So earlier, I told you that I had a big list of the reason I couldn't go for my one-year trip, and another big list that I couldn't quit my job. What if I tell you that all of this was possible? How would you do it? The biggest key message here, the ultimate tool to reach what you want in life is to use the what if. Using the what if will make you the owner and the maker of the game that you want to play. So basically, see life as a game where you design the rule, where you design the life you want, and you pretty much go and say, you know what, I'm going to write down everything I want to do, and then I'm going to say, instead of thinking about all the good reasons why you cannot do it, just say, okay, let's pretend we're doing this. And what if it's possible? How would we do that? And this is exactly what happened with our trip. We were sitting on a terrace having a glass of wine. My wife back then was running a daycare at home, and she got tired of that. I mean, it's very demanding. So all praise to you if you work in the education at any level. If you work in the education field, I know how hard is your job. And that was the problem with my wife, and she was looking for freedom, and she was tired of just waking up to work more and then to go to sleep tired, and then repeated that the next day. And then when she said, hey, how about we would leave for 1 year and then just travel, because I saw that in some kind of blog, and I was like, okay, so how will we do that? Okay, so first we could go on backpack. Another blog that she saw, this family was actually riding bicycles. I couldn't picture myself riding bicycles with my 3 children. That was like just, they're too hardcore for me. I cannot do that. But how about having a RV? So I would have my own house from one place to another, so it would be cheap, and I could sleep pretty much wherever I want, and I would have a feeling of being home even though I'm very far away. So by using what if, we started to design what was the dream. And then we just decided to go all in. But it's not right away. We just think about it. We outline all the ways that we want to do it. And just slowly but surely, we just found answers to all our problems. And that's the magic of it. Instead of like putting those barriers and telling ourselves it's impossible, what are we going to do with the house? Are we going to do homeschooling? What's going to life look like when we come back? Are we going to be able to afford a house anymore? Stuff like that. We just went and say, okay, so what would be the trip? How we would design it, and then how we can actually make that happen. To do that, you need a roadmap. And if there's like one slide that you want to picture and capture here, is this one. The slides are available actually by the conference, but just hit pause, click on print screen, just save this one, because if you want to reach any type of freedom in your life, regardless of what is your dream is, you need a roadmap. And this is a very simple roadmap, but this is exactly what I did twice, and it actually worked. So I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's probably a good start. So the first thing is define what you want. So in that first case, we decided, okay, so we want a 1-year trip. What is it? Is family time? Traveling, is just like not being pushed by anyone around, not having a schedule. That was like what we were looking for. In terms of building more freedom, I was thinking about more freedom at work. I love my job, but I was constrained by banking rules, which totally makes sense. I had a job, I had a boss, I had an assistant, I had rules, I had hours I have to work, I have objective. I didn't want all of that. I wanted to be able to do whatever I want, take vacation whenever I want. I want to also be able to travel and still work at the same time, which all of those things were not possible if I remain at my job. Second step is to define how. It's one thing to dream about something, but then you have to dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, what exactly I want to do. So in the first case, it was an RV trip. We wanted to drive all the way down to Costa Rica, spend a few months there, and then come back home, because the purpose was not to live on the road forever. For some people, that's freedom, and that's their goal. And we've met a family, they're from Belgium, and they're actually still on the road 6 years later, which is kind of amazing, right? But that's their dream, that's their freedom, that's what they wanted to do. On our side, we just wanted to experience it for a year. To reach that freedom for work, I decided to build an online business because of my skills, because of my knowledge, because of what I feel comfortable with. That was matching my dream, having an online business that I can just need a Wi-Fi connection and a laptop, and I can work everywhere. I actually even tried out full speed last year. Right before the pandemic hit, we spent 1 month in Vietnam. So the month of January in 2020. So I can tell you, we were going back on January 31st, and I was kind of feeling like pretty happy to go back in Canada back then, because the pandemic story was building up over there. But I realized that with my laptop, I could work everywhere in the world, and I could minimize my work at that time because I was traveling and spending time with my family. So maybe like 10-15 hours, and it was very sustainable for a full month, which is kind of cool, right? The second thing I wanted to build is something that is scalable, meaning I don't want to trade time for money anymore. You know, whatever your job looks like, you always trade 1 hour for X amount of dollar. If you are in a sales mode, well, then you have X hours for X dollars of amount, plus if you're plus a performance bonus. So if you sell more, you'll make more money. But then again, you're trading time for money. What I wanted to do for myself was to trade some of my time, but having more and more and more and more money going my way. You can do that if you build a rental property income source, or if you build an online business which is based on subscription model. So at Dividend Stocks Rocks, people, they subscribe to our service, they enjoy it, and every single month or every single year, they renew their membership and they pay me again. So that's a scalable business. Now, probably the most important part, because now we're still in the world of dreaming. We know what we want to reach. We pretty much know how we're going to do it, but if we don't set up a date, it's never going to happen. For the trip, we decided that in the summer of 2014, and we left on June 2016. The date of June 2016 was already defined way before, like really at the start. We decided, okay, we're going to do an RV trip, but then we need some time to build money and then to pretty much plan the entire thing, because at first it was just too big. So we thought, okay, so we want to leave before my oldest son reached high school. And that was like 2 years after that. So he needed to do sixth grade with us as homeschooling. And by setting the date, we had an objective. The first objective was like, okay, I need to leave the house, jump in my RV that I don't even have right now yet. And that will happen in 24 months from now. By setting up a date, it is likely that you're going to reach your goal because you're going to constantly working toward it. Even though sometimes I was tired, even though sometimes I was discouraged, I told myself, I made that promise to myself, in 24 months, I'm leaving. I did obviously the same thing when I came back from that trip. I'm going to start working full-time on my business, and this is how it's going to happen. Now, obviously, there's a big gap between what you're going to do and the date that you're going to do it. There's that gap here, which I actually define into 3 steps. So pretty much any project could be defined this way. So for the trip, we decided, okay, so how about we do some research and we look at how people did it already. So, whatever your dream is, chances are other people did it in the past. And if they did it in the past, they're actually super eager to share that information and share their knowledge and share their tricks with you. So this is what we did. We did some research, we contacted some people that left, and then we gathered so much information. So we had a pretty good idea of like what we need, how we should do it, the itinerary. Sorry, it's hard to say that in English for me. So we had all that settled. Then the second step was, okay, now we need to get real. So let's buy a RV so we can do some practice. So I don't want to go and travel around Central America without knowing what RVing is like. So we bought the RV and then we did a few 2, 3, 4 days trip with it to make sure that we get some training. Then we meet with teachers, because who else is better in a better position to tell us what is important in homeschooling. So that's what we did. And then we decided to sell our house. Didn't work out, and because the market was not a good thing at that point, so we ended up renting our house to an amazing couple with 2 kids, and they were actually living in Myanmar. So it was a couple from Quebec, but they were looking to come back in Quebec. They didn't know if they would like it or not, so they were looking to rent a house for 1 year just to see how it goes. So and their dates were like fitting with ours. That was just like perfect for everybody. So this is what I'm saying when you make a list of things that is impossible. Well, actually, when you start moving forward, you get in motion, solutions just comes in right away. We had a 6th grade teacher that actually gave us like a full plan for homeschooling. We rented a house to amazing people. We came back, the house was in mint condition. The RV, I just invested enough money on it to make sure that nothing was leaking and the mechanic was A1. I didn't have any problem during the trip. So all those things just happen naturally. 3rd step, create my itinerary. Know where I want to go a little bit, like the key places we want to visit. Make sure that everybody here in the family is having fun, because that's super important. Buy what's missing, the equipment, the solar panel, all of those things. Pack my bags and then go. When I decided to build my business, I had similar steps. So just 3 steps, keep it simple. And if you have like 10 steps or something like that, you're gonna look at this and say, you know what, I cannot make it, it's too complicated. So just go one step after the other and just do your checklist all the time. So the first one is I had a side gig. I had like a small business online that was just for fun. I was like just doing that in my free time. And when I decided to leave in 2014, I decided to, instead of watching TV at night, I decided to work on that side gig. So I was building my online business way before I actually quit my job. So the business was building. Yes, of course, I had to work like late at night sometimes, or sometimes on the weekend. But when you have a goal, when you have an objective, you don't really mind. I was thinking if I build that, I can leave for 1 year and that's going to be amazing. And while I was on my trip, I realized, wow, I can do that all the time. So second step, super important while you're building the gig. And then you can see also it's a way to minimize risk. You're making some money, so you can see it is happening. You think, oh, maybe I could push that one step forward and then make even more money. And before you do that, speak with your partner. That's super important because having a business is not like having a job. Having a job 9 to 5, you know what to expect. Everybody knows when you're going to come back home and it's all good. Now, you have to determine your limit and you have to quit on good terms. So I didn't just tell my boss, hey, you know what? See ya, boss. It's over. I don't want to talk about you anymore. I just went slowly, respectfully, and just making sure that if this fails, I can always go back. And they were super happy for me. And they just told me, you know what? We left the door open. If you ever want to come back, you're welcome. Third step. Now it's time to make real money. It's time to identify growth vectors. So looking at how I can make more money, work more, and make sure that I don't just trade time for hours, but I'm building something that is scalable. And then, well, the secret is to work relentlessly. Unfortunately, there's no other secret at this point. Once you have a good system and when you know how you can make money, a lot of people just say, oh, I'm going to follow my dream and then money's coming after. Unfortunately, we all have bills to pay and this is not the way it goes. Funny story, when I came back after my trip, the business was generating between $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Obviously, we had business expenses, and that was enough to cover business expenses and to cover my life when I was sitting on the beach and eating mangoes because it doesn't cost anything. Once back in North America, I needed a lot more than that. So when I came back, I needed my business to generate at least $10,000 of income every single month. And I was at 4 to 5. So there was a huge gap. And I didn't have any savings left, obviously. And I still needed to pay my bills at the end of the month. So that was kind of a real problem. And this is where, when you're at like the edge of the cliff, you have to like decisions to make. Either you will go back to work and then you never think about that ever, which was impossible for me because I knew that I would regret not trying it at one point. So I just decided to go all in. And I knew, because I started this as a side gig, because I was able to scale it to a certain level already, I knew I could do it. I just needed a solid plan to follow it and then push forward all the time. And this is exactly what happened with the business. So first, if you start with a side gig, it's not too much. It's just like you're just trading time, you know. Don't watch Netflix, drop your Facebook, and then it's going to work out. So now it's nice to tell you that you have to work hard, but at least you need to know where to start and how to have a good business idea, right? So personally, I started with my passions and then I looked at others people's problems. I love the stock market. I love investment. And I'm passionate about that. And I am full of conviction in life. I probably suffer from overconfidence from time to time, but I'd rather have more confidence than a lack of confidence. And I realized that those were some of my strengths, and I could help people have more conviction with their investing strategy. And this is how I started to build something that would look like eventually as a membership website for independent investors. At first, I was just talking about investment on a blog and just trying to get traction and then to see if people would love what I have to tell and what I have to write. What do you need? In fact, you don't need to be the best guy in the world. You just need to be better than the average bear. In most cases, you started like this and then you become an expert later. In my situation, it was a bit different because I was already working in the financial industry for over 10 years. So I've built a huge experience that. But then again, who am I compared to all the CFAs that work for Royal Bank of Canada? I'm not that much, right? I'm just a single guy, and they have like billions in payrolls, not billions, but millions in payrolls. They have unlimited resources, but still I'm able to help people because I have a different approach, because I'm able to do webinars with them, and then I'm able to connect with people and give that conviction. Regardless what your business idea is, it has to generate some kind of like passive income. It has to be a scalable model. I've told you that before, but that's super important, because if you're just saying, I'm going to sell stuff, but I'm going to buy it myself, distribute it myself, and then do customer service, well, then you're just, again, exchanging time for money. But if you build a system where you don't have to make the purchase, you don't have to make the delivery, and there's a system behind it, like your computer is actually moving those parts and then receiving the payment, taking care of the delivery, then you have something that's a bit more passive and more scalable. And this is how you can really reach a good business model. Super important. It's fun to follow your dream, but you must know if you can make money out of it. There's a saying which you say you should look at the minimum viable product, meaning that you work hard enough to create something that someone is willing to pay for. It doesn't have to be the end product that is completely satisfying. It's just a part of it. This is what happened. I've been working on DSR for several years now, and it gets better and better. And now it looks really like a complete product. At the beginning, it was good, but it was far from being perfect. Finally, I have to tell you, if there's one metric you must follow, is your cash flow. Cash is king. If you're lacking of cash flow, it's like lacking of oxygen to breathe. Your business is going to suffocate and it's going to die very quickly. So make sure that you get cash flow coming in as soon as possible, and then you get that going. All right, so now it's time to get ready. First, imagine your rich life. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from Ramit Sethi, who wrote the famous book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Imagining your rich life is imagining what makes you happy and what you could do if you had all the money in the world. And funny enough, as Ramit explained that in his podcast, is when you reach your rich life, a lot of things are not that expensive. You just thought it would, but it's not that much. So you can actually reach freedom, be super happy, and you don't need to drive a BMW, or you don't need this, or you don't need that. But maybe you are looking for something else. I love running, so obviously spending money on running shoes is super important for me. But that's me. That's not you. So you have to imagine your own rich life. Get rid of all the I can't. That's not even a word. Just look at the what ifs. What if it's possible? So I can't do that because I have a mortgage. Okay, so what if you don't have a mortgage? How you could do that? And maybe you could rent your house. Maybe you can sell it. Do you really need a house right now because you're going to travel? Not really. You can always buy one later. And when I crossed the border of Honduras and there were like all those guys that are tattoos, and then they had like guns and so on, and I was like kind of scared for my family. When I came back, the thought of losing my house, the thought of like withdrawing money from my RSP, wasn't that scary anymore. Like there's another level of fear that you can reach. And when you think that you're going to die one day, well, you want to get the maximum of your life right now, because this is what's happening right now. Design the rules of your game with using the what, the how, and the when. Super important, super simple. But with those three questions and the 3-step plan, just break down your project in 3 specific action plan, and there you go. You have like what you need to take the first step and then move forward. Finally, work relentlessly. Drop your Facebook, drop your Netflix, drop your phone entirely. And instead of wasting your time getting numb because you just don't do much with your life, do something that you love. You'll go back to sleep with your head filled with dreams, filled with happiness. And while you're working on your project, it's just going to be amazing and you're going to feel good. And you know what? You're going to actually have more energy. I want to finish this presentation by telling you one last story of being bold, being rich, and being sexy. My wife, José, just turned 41 this year. She's going back to university full time. That's bold, right? She looked at fear and eat a pile of pies. I'm not gonna have fear. I'm just gonna move forward, live my life, and earn my bachelor degree because this is what I want to do. This is also very rich because she does what she wants whenever she wants it, and that's actually being bold like this and being rich like this. That's super sexy. And you can do bold, you can do rich and be sexy too. And this is what I wish you that will happen with your life now. Go use your dream, define it completely, define the rules, and then move forward. You're just going to be happy and you're going to live the life that you have designed instead of living the life that someone else designed for you. And that's just whatever everybody should do. If you want to learn more about my stuff, you can reach me at dividendstocksrocks.com. You can also follow my podcast or my YouTube channel. All is free, or you can always reach me at Twitter at the Dividend Guy. If you have any questions or my DMs are open, so I'll be happy to answer them. And speaking of which, now it's time to do some Q&A. So as I mentioned earlier, if you're French, you can ask your question in French. I'll answer in French and English at the same time. And there you go. So I hope that you have enjoyed that presentation. I hope that I've given you that guts to take the first step forward and just start with the what ifs and to change your entire life. So now I'm open for all your questions.